One of the most bizarre elements of Donald Trump being on the scene as a politician is watching the Republican Party just twist themselves in irreparable knots, trying to justify the things he says or translate what he says. Well, I think what the president meant to say was, well, what I think Donald Trump meant to say was, I mean, this is what you hear constantly. And it really does bring to mind the children's fable, the emperor has no clothes, or the emperor's new clothes, whatever the name of that is. I'm not up to date with my children's literature, but it's the story of the emperor who's this powerful man, and he has a set of new clothes made, and he's walking around naked, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at his clothes! They're so great! They're so great!" And one kid has the courage. I think this is the story again. Not up to date. Maybe I should just shut the hell up if I don't really know. But as I remember it, there's one kid who either doesn't understand about how to kiss up to the dear leader, and he says, well, no, he's naked. He doesn't have any clothes on. I think that's the crux of it. If not, we should write a new version. Well, this continues with Donald Trump constantly. Caroline Sunshine is a new former child actor or something, and new spokesperson for the campaign, used to work for Vivek Ramaswamy. And she had a ridiculous thing to say on Fox News. Again, completely flies in the face of what reality is. And it's continuing with this trope, this narrative, this lie, this propaganda, this absolute disinformation about Donald Trump. He knows how to pick the best people. He picks the best people. That's why he picked JD Vance, who's a warrior just like Donald Trump, who took a bullet for democracy. All of this insanity in such a short clip. Get ready for it, because then we're going to talk about it.
And look, what President Trump, I think, was communicating is he's the great American warrior. You know this. You just watched him take a bullet for democracy and come back to the state of Pennsylvania. But he's selected a fellow warrior in JD Vance. And President Trump, as we know, has an exceptional eye for talent. He picks the best people for the job. And as we've continued to see, I thought this was really interesting. I had a colleague earlier come up and tell me JD Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, and the movie that it was based off of on Netflix, both reaching #1 in the book charts and the Netflix charts, because what we're seeing is the more the American people get to know JD Vance, unlike Kamala Harris, the more they like him, the more they want to know him. And he's from a community of forgotten men and women. And as I said, President Trump has an exceptional eye for talent in who he chooses, and he understands how high the stakes are for this country. And so does JD Vance.
One, he's not from a community of forgotten men and women. He's not from Appalachia. He's not from where he claims he's from. He's a liar about his past. He's had 3 different names. He's changed his name. Look, and I come from a weird background, didn't know my biological father until I was 18 years old. I understand coming from a white trash family. I get it. But to call him all of these things that he's not, again, just lends itself to the propaganda element of this. And I mean, chiefly among it, Donald Trump, he's the great American warrior. Donald Trump. Bone Spurs McGee. The guy who dodged the draft on multiple occasions, getting deferments because of his bone spurs, his little feet he's hurt. So couldn't answer his nation's call because, one, he's a rich kid, silver spoon. But you just watched him take a bullet for democracy. One, he didn't take a bullet. He wasn't struck by a bullet. Hands down, bar none, period, point blank, just the way it is. I wouldn't expect you to know, Caroline Sunshine. But he took a bullet for democracy. Even if he had taken a bullet, it wasn't for democracy. No one targeted him because he's a champion of democracy. We don't know yet why exactly he was targeted, but it certainly wasn't because of his championing of democratic rule. And he came back to the state of Pennsylvania, bravely came back like there's some army of people just champing at the bit to take him out. But the most alarming thing here, again, is the nonsense about him having a good eye for people. Look at this from the Washington Post. This is just a depiction, a graphic to give you an indication of exactly how many people Donald Trump went through, how many firings took place. The turnover of the Donald Trump administration was off the charts. And the reason this is poignant is because if indeed Donald Trump knew, if he had an eye for people and only picked the best people, why did he have to fire so many of them? Why did he burn through so many chiefs of staff? So many secretaries of state, so many attorneys general. Why? Here's another representation. And this list is only up until November 9th. He still had December and most of January to go. And this doesn't include all of the resignations that took place, like Mitch McConnell's wife and others, after the insurrection, after Donald Trump stood by and did nothing while his frothing insurrectionist supporters were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." While Donald Trump was saying, well, maybe they're on to something. Maybe my supporters are on to something. Maybe he does need to be hung. This list is an absolutely the best visual representation that Donald Trump doesn't have the best eye for talent. And JD Vance, hopefully, won't be in a position to be fired as vice president because of the fact that they won't get elected. Do we want this for our country? Do we want an emperor, a naked emperor, as president of the United States? Certainly MAGA thinks so. Certainly the low-educated, low-information audience of Fox News, they want that because they think this is. I mean, how many cabinet level individuals in here got fired either from scandal where they had no choice or just they started acting in a manner that Donald Trump didn't like? John Bolton, there's several in here. Tom Price. I mean, Secretary of Defense Mattis, John Kelly, Tillerson, Jeff Sessions. It's easier for me just to name them than try to find them in this insane grid of photos that just all blends together of a bunch of white people. Again, Donald Trump's good eye for talent. Anyway, what do you think? I would love to know. You can comment below. That will trigger YouTube to share this video to new people. If you like and comment, if you share this video, if you watch for a long time, all of these are metrics that are taken into account by the YouTube algorithm to determine whether they share this video in the browse panel on the side, or there's all the things. I don't know much about it. All I try to do is do the job. Anyway, you can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work, helping me make these videos. For $2 a month, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button below. You can also go over to my Patreon page, which absolutely supports this show, patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'm on social media @Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.